Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Butter What Show. I'm Pat Regan. This is my lovely co-host, BrianCMoses.com from BrianCMoses.com. And we've been going bananas 3D printing things and the last week or two, especially you, Brian. You've gone farther than I have. With what have we been 3D printing, though, Tubby?
We have been 3D printing the Gridfinity storage ecosystem? What's the right word there?
That's a good question. System. How about just system?
System. Yeah. It's a grid at the base, and then there is an entire collection of parts that just fit right into the base, the tray. It comes in the base comes in a couple different methods. You know, one's real thin. It's just kind of a literal grid. And then Zach Friedman, lovely gentleman here. Yep. There's also a weighted base where you can put tire weights or magnets into to kind of, I guess, put maybe at a desk or at a workstation or something.
So what have you organized?
What you're showing here on the screen, this is my IKEA Hemler? I forget the name of it. It's an inexpensive little set of metal micro drawers, yeah. And for the longest time, I've put all of my camera accoutrement on top of it. My chargers, my batteries, things that I use for our podcasts, and they just kind of all sat on there in a mess. So I decided to print, a grid that fit on top of that, and then containers on it with little magnets in each of the containers to hold the grid in place. And that took a few days.
A long time.
Almost, yeah, of almost nonstop printing. But I've got it completely covered now in bins, and it's fantastic.
Now, what's really cool about these bins that we haven't mentioned yet, I've organized drawers with little custom bins, but with these little grids on the bottom, you can stack containers on top of each other. And so you get a third dimension to your storage organization. That's something I was totally missing out on before.
I've got it in my top drawer.
My camera has a special custom thing that fits the lens and the camera and some batteries and stuff. And then underneath that you pull the lid off, and then there's containers with SD cards and microphone covers and microphone holders. And so I'm liking this idea that I could take an important thing and put it on top and then organize related things on the layers underneath.
Underneath it. Yeah, one of the things that I did is I have like a million little USB devices, mostly thumb drives, but other things too, like Bluetooth adapters, Wi-Fi adapters, our little HDMI capture cards.
Yep.
So I printed a bin to hold all those things, and then I'm gonna grab it here, and then I printed a lid where I put all of the different most commonly used ones right on top of that storage.
Yep. So you don't have to go digging for the common stuff.
Yep. It's pretty tight. The tolerance is on this.
You're not really strong enough. He is not strong enough. And you've got some of these magnetized to the top of your little chest of drawers there, and you've got them in the drawers. And somebody made that. It's hashtag Gridfinity up mostly on things.com.
Mostly on things, but also on printables and Thingiverse. I mean, they're just slowly propagating everywhere.
Alexander Chappell has a system sort of like this with the grid on the bottom, and but his you have to buy the plans, and they're reasonably priced. It's fine. You have to buy the STL files, print them, and organize them. But Zach's system is open source. I should have looked up the license, Tubby. That would have been a smart thing to know. And I've been interested in Alexander's storage system for months, maybe more than a year. I don't know how long it's been up there. But when I look at it and they tell me well, you got to spend $5 for this assortment, $10 for that assortment. I see them up here. There's different sizes. And then I have to buy filament. Then I have to 3D print them. Then I have to pick out the ones I want. And I just, I'm not going to do it. But I don't know about you, but when I saw that Zax was open source and I could just start downloading and printing things and playing with things and doing things, I jumped right on it immediately.
I was a little slower than you, but I felt kind of the same way. I don't, as much iterating as I did. I didn't want to pay and then get an STL and find out, well, hey, it didn't work out the way that I thought it would. I don't know what, I mean, maybe you could get a refund.
Well, but even so, it's just another barrier to getting started. Yeah. And the friction here is so low. And something I noticed here, Tubby, that we didn't mention. You can print the grids in small pieces and set them next to each other, and the bins can overlap from one grid to the next to the next. He's not really showing us this with the hammer, but it reminded me that we should mention that.
He's not. And that's part of the reason that I put magnets in all of my containers, so that when a container crossed two grids borders, that it held that, especially on the top of my drawers, it held everything in place.
Yeah, you don't want to accidentally have the whole thing just slide right off of your
Yeah.
I was gonna call it a desk. I know it's not a desk,
but it's kind of like a desk.
It's
an extension of my desk. That area is.
And I've printed a couple of these bins where you can divide up the small, like that bin he has here. It's 2 grid units wide, but it has 5 little parts bins in them. It has room to write labels on there. I set up 2 over at my workbench for quadcopters, where I have one set of bins has M2 screws, the other one has M3 screws. They're in order. They're the common sizes that I use. They're all labeled, and they're even color coded. My M2 bin is one color, and my M3 bin is another color.
That's smart.
Thank you. And I think it's kind of cool that I'm not gridded up everywhere yet, but I'm working on it. If I had a grid over here at my desk and I was working on something over here and I needed screws, I could just bring that bin of screws from over there over to here and put it in the grid that's here. They could be moving between workstations.
That's really cool. I kind of like the idea that you could have multiple bases set up and you could move things from one place to the other and then put them away. I mean, one of the things that I hate about the quadcopter stuff is that I got all the tools and I've got a drawer where they go, but I take them all out and then that drawer, and I put them somewhere. It's just a mess. It's just kind of moving a mess around every time I work on a quadcopter.
Yep, and at least now you could tidy up the mess into a cluster and a stack of mess.
It's a, I guess a fixed size. It's easy to, I guess it would be easy to organize it and clean it up once and then just move those bins from place to place and not have to constantly be making and unmaking that mess.
Yeah. And he has some neat grids where you can plunk these onto your Prusa or Ender 3 3D printer and stack up tools. He's got lots of customized 3D printer slots for glue sticks and hairsprays and nozzles. And he has CNC machine end mill holsters and all kinds of crazy stuff. And there's more stuff showing up every day that I search. There's something new.
And we'll put this video in the description of the video, the link to Zach's video.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the link to his video, the link to the stuff that he uploaded to Thangs, and and it'll say it down the bottom while we're talking about it. And when we make the episode, Tubby, I will edit the good parts in next to while we're talking the appropriate things.
Yeah.
Not just what's playing here. I could talk about the Gridfinity for an hour, Tubby, but
What's your favorite Gridfinity bin so far?
Ooh. Oh, the M3 screws, the little simple one, is my favorite so far. How about you?
That's your favorite so far? I really like my USB one, but this one's not too bad either. It's for my cheap Harbor Freight calipers.
Yeah, it is.
It fits right in there. And I don't know if
now
you remember
hammer.
Because you've... Yeah. You remember because you've seen it before. I had a 3D printed case for this, and it was in the drawer, and it took up probably 25% of that drawer just from all of the size of the case. This is smaller. It's taller, but I really like it.
I'm thinking about printing one of the ones where you lay tools down, 5 or 6 of them, and putting my caliper in one. My drawer isn't. I have a tall drawer over here where I keep this stuff. Yeah, one of those.
This is Zach's nippers one. I like that because I have a pair of these just about everywhere that I could think of needing them.
You can never have too many flush cuts.
I like how it works.
That's exactly the thing I was thinking about putting my calipers in, because they can't stand up in this drawer.
Yeah.
But Alexander Chappell's stuff is really meant for drawers. That was what he wanted to do, is organize drawers. Zach wants to organize workspaces. And it's working fine in a drawer, and I'm sure Alexander's stuff works on a workspace too. I'm sure these both work both ways, but there's a different goal behind each one. And
there's an emphasis, yeah.
Yep. But what about you folks out there? Are you guys going to be printing some Gridfinity stuff? Or are you already printing Gridfinity stuff? And do you think it's as awesome as Brian and I think it is?
Let us know what your favorite Gridfinity bins are. I want to see links to things that people have enjoyed putting in their drawers or at their workplace.
Oh, I do too. Show us your Gridfinity hashtag stuff. That's what I say. I want to see it. I agree with you, Larry. I would be bummed out if I bought an STL and it didn't work. But I bet you, as far as I know, Alexander's doing a fantastic job. We've almost done an episode on his stuff a few times. But I never printed any of it, so it wasn't that exciting. But now that I've printed so many grid things,
it's way more exciting once you actually start printing it and putting it to use. I had fun even with the things I guess that failed. We found an OpenSCAD prototype that somebody had shared, and I had quickly designed and modified and iterated and printed things that didn't work, and I had fun that whole time just churning things out of the printer. I'd put a couple bins on the plate that I knew would work, or that I would use, or even if I didn't use them, I knew I could make them work somewhere down the road.
And it's a fantastic way to use up the end of a spool of filament. I'm going to just, when I don't know what to print with a spool I'm not happy with, I will just start printing boxes. And the nice thing is the boxes, even if it's not quite the right box for what you want to use today, it might be next month. You might use it somewhere else. It's not a waste. You will use the bin.